The Knicks, for the first time in what felt like forever, had real expectations heading into this season. And if you guys have been watching me for a couple of months, you would know that I was really high on New York heading into this season. But here we are, the All-Star game just passed, and the basketball's about to resume in a couple of days, and the Knicks have been quite bad this year. They're currently a few spots out of the play-in tournament, and you might be wondering, why have the Knicks just disappointed everyone so badly this year? Well, that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. But before we get started, make sure you guys hit that like button if you enjoyed, as it really helps out the channel. And also make sure to subscribe if you guys are new and you guys enjoy this type of content, so you don't miss out on any new videos like this. Plus, I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers, and once we hit our goal, I'm finally going to do a face reveal. But with that being said, let's go ahead and let's get this video started. Now, the first issue I'm going to talk about has to do with Julius Randle and his massive regression. Previous to this year, previous to the 2021 season, Julius had a really bad reputation around the league and just among the NBA community and NBA fans. He had this reputation as this shot-shucking, negative IQ player who was really just an empty stats guy who was really inefficient. He just had a really bad reputation around the NBA, and people just viewed him as like a really mid NBA player. However, in 2021, he had a career season, averaging over 20 points per game, over 10 rebounds per game, and the guy was also a really good playmaker, and not to mention, the guy was really efficient from the field, and he was also really efficient from three. The guy even shot over 40% from three on over like 5-6 attempts per game. The guy was flat out amazing in 2021. He was an all-star that year, and he was also selected to an all-NBA team. Now, a lot of people will criticize him for his playoff performance that year, and yes, it was really, really bad, but overall that season, Julius, he was very good. However, this season, he's reverted back to his old form, and a lot of people are holding him accountable, and rightfully so. Randle, he just has not been very good this year. He's really gone back to his old self, as I said before. He's been inefficient, he's taking bad shots, he's turning the ball over frequently, which is something I forgot to mention, and the guy just, he's had been like a negative IQ player, and I mean, simply put, he really has fallen off a cliff this year and has played nothing like how he did, last season. So Julius Randle's regression, it's a large reason why the Knicks are not doing good right now. And last season, Julius Randle, he was the best player on the Knicks, and when your best player falls off the way Julius did this season, it's definitely gonna hurt you. However, that being said, I don't think his struggles are I think his struggles are they are partly a result of an even greater problem with the Knicks, and that's the lack of a true point guard to run their offense. Having a true point guard, and just like a true playmaker on your team is vital. I mean, just look at the 2019-20 at Los Angeles Clippers. That team was very good. However, they lacked a true playmaker, and there was a massive reason why they disappointed everyone in the playoffs that year. And I mean, the New York Knicks, they don't have a true playmaker. Not having a true playmaker makes their offense so predictable, because guys are just taking turns, isoing and just trying to create offense, and eventually your offense becomes so predictable to the point where it's easy to stagnate. And also, having a true playmaker allows you to get your star players open shots and can lead to them being more efficient. I do believe that if they had a true playmaker, Julius Randle, he would probably be better. Now, who knows if you'd just, if you'd be playing like 2021 Randle, but I do believe he would be, he would be better. And I will say, his struggles, I mean, they do kind of stem from this problem. In the entire Knicks squad, they're definitely affected by this problem as well. When we look at the Knicks point guard depth, you got Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker, at this point, I think he's just okay. He's really not amazing, and even then, he's way more of a score-first guard than a pass-first guard. Yes, he can play make, but he's way more of a score-first guard. You got Emmanuel Quickley, score-first guard, and Emmanuel Quickley, I can't lie, he's been having a sophomore slump, which is not something you really like to see if you are a fan of New York. And then there's Derrick Rose, and we're just going to mention Derrick Rose real quickly. Derrick Rose, he's missed a majority of this season with an injury, and Derrick Rose's absence, it's been really big for this team. Not only has the guy become really, had a massive career resurgence, but he's legitimately one of the best role players in the NBA. The guy has a great offensive punch off the bench, and not only is he great for them on the court, but he's also really good for them off the court as a great veteran leader. And Julius Randle himself has even admitted that not having Derrick Rose has really affected New York a lot on and off the court, you know? Now, I'm pretty sure Derrick Rose will be returning soon, and I mean, if the Knicks want to salvage their season, they really will need Derrick Rose back ASAP, because right now, they really are missing him. But the next issue I do want to talk about has to do with New York's defense and Tom Thibodeau. The Knicks' defense last season was elite, to put it quite simply. They were third in defensive net rating and first in opponent points per game, and it was one of the main catalysts in their surprise season last year, as their offense, it wasn't amazing last season. However, because their defense was so damn good, they won quite a bit of games. In 2022, though, it's fallen off a cliff, as NY is 16th in defensive net rating and 8th in opponent points per game. Part of it's due to the fact that their three-point defense went from the best in the NBA to middle of the pack. Now, I mean, it's better than bad, but still, it definitely has regressed. And head coach Tom Thibodeau, he is known for being a defensive-minded head coach who doesn't bring much to the table offensively. So, when his defense isn't exactly doing its thing, in a way, he is kind of useless. And speaking of Tom Thibodeau, he also deserves his fair share of blame this season. The Knicks have blown multiple leads this year, and I mean, it's just absolutely pitiful. In fact, I remember not too long ago, they were playing the Brooklyn Nets, and this is just one example of several blown leads. They were up like 29 at halftime, and the Knicks somehow lost that game, you know? And blown leads, the coach definitely deserves quite a bit of accountability when it comes to blown leads, and Tom Thibodeau, he's no exception to that rule, and the guy really does need to be held accountable for the fact that, I mean, the Knicks' defense is just not as good as it was last season, plus the blown leads. That is just really, really pitiful. Now, I don't know if he will be getting the boot this offseason, we'll have to wait, but at the very least, I think New York does need to put him on the hot seat, because Tom Thibodeau, although he was very good last year, and I do believe he rightfully deserved Coach of the Year last season, this year he has not been very good, so he's got to be on the hot seat. Now I want to talk about some of their free agency signings and how they've basically just been free agency flops. Let's start out with Kemba Walker. When Kemba was signed, many people actually viewed it as somewhat of a steal, and I mean, I was one of those people. I really liked the signing a lot at the time. A lot of people, they hoped that he would kind of regain his all-star form and believed he would be really useful on the Knicks, because if he could somewhat regain his all-star form, then he could seriously help their offense improve. Unfortunately for New York fans, that has not been the case, as he really has just been okay for them. Luckily, his contract, it's not super bad, so they can trade it easily if they want to, and that is one reason why I did like the move at the time, because it really was not that big of a contract. So, I mean, again, if it didn't work out, it really would not be, you know, a massive burden on New York, because his contract wasn't so large. But Kemba Walker really has not panned out the way that the New York, you know, hoped for. Then there's Evan Fournier, who I think has to be like the biggest free agency flop when we talk about the Knicks signings. Evan Fournier, he really has not been that great this year. While he's still been a really good three-point shooter for them, he's been kind of inefficient from the field, and although his three-point percentage is good, he's been wildly inconsistent for them, and sadly, he's on a larger contract, so I don't think it will be as easy to move on from him. And the Knicks, they were banking on these two signings to really help improve their offense a lot, and, you know, just help take pressure off Julius Randle and RJ Barrett. But that really hasn't been the case, and neither of these guys are really amazing defenders. So I mean, the Knicks were willing to take a little bit of a defensive hit, and I think that can, you know, that is definitely a reason why their defense has regressed a little bit. But I mean, they were really hoping that maybe that defensive regression, you know, they were hoping it was going to be slight, was going to be worth it, because they thought that the offense could be improved because of these guys, but it hasn't been the case. These guys, again, they've been free agency flops. Now, I guess looking a little bit into the future and, you know, what's next for the Knicks, well, The Knicks, I can't lie, their season is kind of over at this point. They could definitely make the play-in. I'm not going to rule that out. They really could, because, I mean, we still got plenty of basketball to be played, and they could definitely make the play-in tournament. But in my opinion, this team, they're really like a first-round exit at best. And honestly, saying a first-round exit could be like pretty generous, given the fact that the Knicks, again, they just have not been very good this year. And I'm making this video for a reason. Now, things the Knicks have to do in the offseason, I guess just a brief plan. For one, they do need to put Tibbs on the hot seat at the very least. I understand if maybe you won't give him the boot just yet, but you gotta put him on the hot seat. And also the Knicks, I mean, they may have to trade someone like Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier and some of their players, and they may have to make a big trade. Julius Randle, I think his future's up in the air with this team because he has not been very good, and the Knicks, they signed him to an extension this past offseason, and I mean, it looks like they're regretting it right now, so they may have to move him. And also, they need to get a true playmaker on this team if they want to get back to the playoffs, and if they really want to go back to being like a top 5 seed in the Eastern Conference. In this Eastern Conference, it is a real bloodbath. But let me know what you guys think, because that'll do it for me for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. It really means a lot to me. Again, friendly reminder, like, subscribe, do all that stuff, and also make sure to go ahead and check out my Twitter, my Instagram, and my podcast. The links to all three, they're in the description below. But without further ado, I'm out, you guys.